Aloha. Today I'm coming to you guys from my garage here in San Antonio, Texas. And yeah, what I want to talk about today, like I said, shooting from the hip, what I want to talk about today is toxic third wave feminism and how it's destroying the country. Well, at least English speaking countries like, United States, Canada, Australia, over there in the United Kingdom, how it's just destroying the country, or destroying those countries. So, where do I start? Well, I guess we could start talking about how what's been happening for a long, long time now, and what's kind of accelerated in the last 20 years that I've seen. But what's been happening a lot in those societies, these societies, is I've been seeing there's been a push on, especially on men, and there's been an encouragement of women to be really, really in touch with our emotions. Now, I'm in touch with my emotions, but I have my emotions under control for the most part, right? I don't let my emotions control me. But I've been seeing society's been kind of conditioned to let their emotions make decisions for them, and that's very much a feminine trait. No, that's just not my opinion. This is fact. Being emotional is a feminine trait. If you think about society, where we are as a civilization, all the technology, all the conveniences we have, those have been afforded to us by the hard work of men who have put their feelings to the side. They've been innovative. They've designed. They've engineered. They've built the world. This is men that have done this. This is just a fact, right? Now, do you think if men were emotional and they let their feelings control them, do you think we would have gotten this far as a society? Men have died to build this world. Men have worked their brains, their bodies to death to figure out how to create technologies. I mean, the internet was a big one, and you know how hard these guys work to create that kind of technology, and the sacrifices they made. Now, you think if they're ran by their emotions, if you think an emotional man can endure the stress and the hard work and the long hours it takes to invent technology, things that make the whole world a better place, of course not. So we've had these masculine men, and when I say masculine, I don't mean just strong, rugged men. I'm talking about men who have intellects, who work hard, who have a work ethic, who stand out in society, who do not let their emotions control them. You have masculine men that have pushed this world forward, who have given us these modern conveniences, okay? And they're still here. But what's been happening is there's been a push on society to be more in touch with their feelings. How do you feel about that? What do you think? How do you feel? How do you feel? How do you feel? So in other words, when a dude feels like something's wrong, or if a guy doesn't feel like doing it nowadays, he just doesn't do it, and he feels justified in that. And I don't feel like doing it. That's the thing. That's the thing that a lot of guys say now, especially these young guys. I feel as if I'm unique amongst my peers. I feel. Everybody feels a certain way, yet when you look at things logically, their feelings are wrong. Now, sorry, somebody just drove by and was staring. So, what I think has been a concerted effort to push society to be more emotional. Think about it. If society is emotional, if you got a civilization of people, let's say you got a village of people, right? And you got masculine men, and there's strong men in that village, and you want to control that village. Those masculine men are in the way. They're the barrier between you and domination, right? If you want to control, you want to take over, you got masculine men who are logical, who know how to think through things, who know how to be objective. You're not going to be able to, first of all, physically dominate that village, because those men are there protecting it. And you won't be able to hustle, manipulate them, control them, because the men are logical. They can stop you from doing that. They can look at whatever information you try to give them to lie, whatever lie or manipulation you put forward, they'll be able to see through it and push it out of the way and protect their families, protect that village. Now, let's say you knew those men were too logical, too masculine. There was nothing you can do, but you put a plan in place to start making their kids, let's say these men are, they're all having children, and these kids have to go to school, right? So you got a plan in place to have the teachers start grooming those children to be emotional, to be in touch with their feelings, right? To let their emotions rule them, right? If you have this plan and you start manipulating these kids in the public school system, and you're teaching these kids to be emotional, right? As those kids start to get older, you can control the way they think very easily by manipulating their emotions. You could pump fear into their hearts. If you want a society to give up their freedoms, you could pump fear. You could scare the crap out of them by giving them some false narrative to scare them, which will allow them to give up their freedoms. So now you may not have been able to dominate that society with those masculine men, but now their kids, as their kids get older and they're emotional and they're more in touch with their feelings, you can manipulate them a lot easier, right? So this is what we see happening. I mean, it's been happening since the 60s. The feminist movement, what it did, I mean, you guys got to do your research. I've looked into this a lot. Me and my wife have looked into this subject. And majority of women in the 60s didn't want to go to work. They were happy staying home. I mean, think about it. I have kids. I'm a dad. I don't know who has kids out there, but as a father, any father out there, in the comments, tell me if I'm right. If you had the choice, if you could somehow get enough money and resources to take care of your family, would you not rather just stay home with them and spend time with your kids, pour all your ethics, your morals into your children and raise them and teach them all the things you want to teach? Would you not prefer that? If somehow somebody was providing for you, wouldn't you want to take vacations, take your children all over the place, do fun things with them instead of being at work 60, 70 hours a week? I mean, who wouldn't want to do that? As a father, I would love to be with my kids all the time. I worked from home for a long time and I loved it. I have to go out and work now away from home and it's tough, but hey, that's the job of a man. So my point is, these women, in the 60s, they didn't want to go to work. They were happy staying home. The men would go out and deal with that stress. I mean, that's why men die from heart disease. They die from stress. They die, they did a study and a lot of heart attacks happen Monday mornings, and it happens to men. Why? Because they're waking up and they have to go to these jobs that are stressful, and it's so stressful, they're having heart attacks. So why would anybody in their right mind want to jump into that workforce? Why would you want to leave home where you're with your most precious thing, which are your children? Why would you want to have to wake up early, rush your kids off to school, sit in traffic, stress out, have a boss tell you what to do all day long, and then go home and be too tired for your kids? Who the hell would want to do that? If you had the option to stay home and be with your children all the time, why wouldn't you do that? So my point is, the majority of women in the 60s, there was this movement, there was a push to get women into the workforce. There's even, look it up. There's this lady who worked for the CIA. She's the one that led this movement. She led it. The CIA funded this movement. They wanted to get women in the workforce because they wanted to tax that whole gender. Men were the only ones being taxed. The government needed more money. They created a campaign, propaganda, to get women to go work, and it worked. And it worked like a charm. And if you think about it, I heard this psychologist talk about something. He said that the reason women are so easily manipulated by propaganda is because if you think about our ancestors and you think about us for the majority of our existence for thousands of years, we all relied on a village or a tribe or a community to survive, right? Women rely on that more than men. So let me paint a picture for you. Let's say there's a town of 100 people, men and women, families. Now, if that community, if that village implements a new law, a new policy, and some people don't like it, if there's men in that society that don't like that law, they can very well leave that village, go out into the wild and survive on their own. Okay? So in other words, men can survive on their own. They're not so dependent on society as a community as much as females are. So females have a biological imperative to please the group, because without the group, they can't survive. Men can survive without the group. Women are reliant on the group to survive. So with that psychology in place, when you have a society at large and they're pumping this message into society, into the news, into music, into every little thing, you're bombarded by this message that staying at home, taking care of your family is oppressive, and going out to work and making your own money is better. If that's the main narrative being pushed into society, women are going to hear that, and when they look at other women agreeing, they're going to want to agree with the group instead of going against the group. They don't want to go counter to the culture. They want to submit to it because they need that culture. They need that society to survive. It's a biological thing, and men aren't so much like that. So what they done? They've conditioned men over the last 50, 60, 70 years to become more emotional. Generation after generation, guys are more and more emotional. Guys don't know how to use the logical part of their brains anymore. Their emotions control them. So now you have very rare men out here. It's rare to find a man out here that knows how to think through things, who's logical. Men are emotional. I mean, I'm going on 43. My stepson, he has buddies that are around, like in their early 20s. I've talked to some of them. It's like talking to women. It's like talking to women. One of these young knuckleheads told me before we were messaging each other, talking about relationships. He told me that he's gifted. This kid told me, I'm gifted. I'm meant for greatness. I'm unique amongst my peers. And this is a kid who had never left home. He had been working the same little high school job. He was in his early 20s, 22, 23. Been working at the same job since he was 16, living at home with his mom. Has not accomplished anything in his life. Yet he thinks he's this tremendous man. Why? Because from what I gather, his mom told him he was special. So since it sounds good and it feels good, he just deems himself this great man, this champion amongst men. That stuff doesn't make sense to me. I've accomplished a lot of things in my life, but I don't think I'm special. I think I'm a roughneck, and I think I know how to grind, and that's about it. But these young bucks, man, they're so emotional. Their emotions rule them so much that they're delusional. If they feel it, it's true. And if you come, me as a logical man, if I come and tell him objective, logical facts, it is offensive, and we're seeing that now in this culture of ours. If I feel like a woman, I am a woman. If she feels like a man, she is a man. And if you challenge that, if you say the truth and you tell them, no, you're not, you're a biological woman, then I'm the bad guy. The truth is no good anymore. This society has been conditioned to let their emotions rule them, and I honestly think it's because they're trying to get rid of masculine men. I, for one, I'm trying to fight this. So this is where feminism comes in. Okay, feminism has demonized men. Another thing I've combated a lot is veganism. Veganism and feminism is something I rail against. They're both emotional movements, right? Veganism tells you you're a murderer for eating animals, but the fact is we need animals to survive and be healthy. If anybody wants to debate me on that, let's go. I invite anybody that wants to challenge any of my views to come on. We can make a video of it. We can talk about it. I just ask a couple of things. You keep your emotions in check. You don't yell. You don't get loud, and don't curse. That's it. Just have a conversation with me. If I'm wrong and you can show me that I'm wrong, then I'll admit I'm wrong. I have no problem with that. I'm a man, and if I'm wrong, I'm all about learning. And if I'm wrong, I'll thank you for teaching me something new. But veganism and feminism, these are all emotional movements. They tell women they're oppressed. They tell them men are dangerous, men are murderers, men are all these evil things. So you have all these mothers raising their daughters to be independent from men. They're raising their daughters to be spiteful of men. Hold on a second. I've seen enough in my life to understand this is true. The only woman I've ever met in my life that wasn't brainwashed by this is my wife. I actually had to show her the brainwashing. It took me a couple of years to kind of point so many things out to her, to show her that this society has been conditioned to hate men. It's normalized. Hating men is normalized. And I can compare it to veganism. So if you know science, if you understand nutrition science, and you understand the facts with food, then clean sources of animal foods is essential to our health. Without it, we die. We start to wither away. But the average person thinks meat is bad. It's just common knowledge. It's conventional wisdom, which is false. It's false information. So the average person thinks eating tons of vegetables and fruits is good for you, which is not. And I could debate anybody on that. So it's conventional wisdom, but it's false. And it's the same thing. Women are raising their daughters, and some dads too, they're raising their daughters to just be these boss babes. To first of all, they're raising their daughters to be like men. So basically, girls in their 20s, they're running around having tons of sex with random dudes, They're creating trauma for themselves. They're not designed to do that. Women are not built to endure that type of lifestyle. It's we can get into the details of that with anybody who wants to debate me. But and then so they're wearing out their best years, the years where they're the most fertile, the most beautiful, right? They're using those years to work, party, and just put miles on themselves. And then when they hit 30, they realize that their biological clock starts ticking. They feel the urge and desire to want to start a family. They start looking around for good men, but all the good men have picked up the good girls that were smart in their 20s. That actually maintained their femininity. They didn't sleep around. They worked on their fitness, their passions. They worked on their spirituality. They worked on their domestic skills. And these good guys, these like 5% guys, they go out there. They find these girls. They get into relationships. They travel the world. They have beautiful romances. And then by the time they're 28, they're already having kids. And that's what's going on. And these type of girls are rarer and rarer. They're harder and harder to find. I believe my daughter is this way. I've raised her this way. She's 18 years old. She's never had a boyfriend. She's a good girl. She has a good work ethic. She trusts me. She trusts mom. She follows our lead. And she's unique only because we have a unique family. But girls are being raised like men, and it's sad. And men are being raised like daughters, And I guess my whole point to this is I just want to speak to more women. I want to talk to women. I want to teach women to hold themselves accountable. I want to talk to guys. I want to talk to guys. I want to talk to women. I want women to hold themselves accountable. This is, basically what I'm trying to say is, I've talked to a lot of single moms, right? And if you're a single mom and you got that baby daddy drama and you're stressed out, that's your fault. Single moms are one of the worst ones that are the least accountable. Most single moms I talk to, they're like, well, men ain't shit. Men ain't nothing. There's no more good men left in the world. I'm gonna teach my daughter to not need no man. Or if they have a son, they're like, I'm gonna teach my son to treat women right. And here's the thing. Here's my position, and I challenge anybody to challenge my position. If you're a single mom, it's because you're irresponsible. You went and you had sex with a dude that wasn't a good father. Either that, maybe he was a good guy. You just weren't a good partner. You weren't submissive. You weren't cooperative. You were argumentative. I've seen plenty of guys that got with girls, good guys with good hearts, that worked hard. Anything a female would want, right? Hardworking guy, good-looking guy. That gave these girls a chance, and these girls just were never satisfied. They ended up breaking up their own homes, and then they're running around talking about he ain't shit. And society blames the man when the man did everything in his power to be a good father and a good husband or whatever. So you got these women who are basically destroying their own homes, or they get into relationships with guys that are not good guys. They get into relationships with losers, with bad boys. They end up pregnant. The guys do what should be expected, which is run off or just screw around or whatever they do. So you end up single, and then you're blaming the men. It's like, it's on you. It's your responsibility. It's up to females to pick good partners. It's up to women to not sleep around. The more you sleep around, the harder it is for you to bond with a man, and the less valuable you become in the eyes of men. That's just the reality. You can say it's a double standard, and hell yes, it's a double standard. Men and women are not the same. When men sleep around, it's harder for men to have sex with women, and I don't condone men going around and whoring around, but a guy who's able to sleep with any woman he meets, it's probably because he's got a bunch of money. He's probably really good looking. He's probably an athlete, a celebrity. He's probably somebody who's just stands out in society. A woman who gets to sleep around, you could get an average girl that works at McDonald's and she could sleep with a different dude every week. That's nothing special. Guys are horny. So as a female, you need to protect your chastity. You need to maintain your femininity. You need to I think you should follow your dreams. I think you should follow your passions. A woman that follows a passion, I think, is going to learn how to have a good work ethic, is going to be happy, and she's a blessing to a man. So as a female, you need to maintain your chastity. You need to maintain your femininity. You need to be very picky about who you allow into your body. And if you don't do that, and you just allow guys to run through you, what do you think? What do you expect? Men will only get away with what you allow them to get away with. plain and simple. Before I was married, I would meet a girl and I would know right within the first minute if I was going to be with her or if I was just going to use her for sex. I'm not proud of that, I'm a Christian man now, but when I was young in my 20s, I had plenty of fun. I lived in Hawaii, I lived in Waikiki. I met tourist girls left and right. I was actually disgusted with myself, and I stopped that behavior on my own without even finding a relationship. I stopped that behavior way before way before me and Deanna got together. So I did it on my own. A lot of guys can't do that, but I did. So I just want women to hold themselves accountable. There's this victimhood. I'm oppressed. Women think they're oppressed, and they use the wage gap as justification, which is it's a complete. It's so. Any female that says the wage gap, right off the bat, I know they're brainwashed. Because if you look into the wage gap, it's been debunked out I don't know how many times. Basically, the wage gap, it took like a age group of like women between 30 and like 50 and men between 30 and 50 and in the United States, and they looked at how much both groups made total, right? That was the only variable, the age and a certain amount of time, and men made more money. So women are like, wage gap, see, women are being oppressed. That's it. What they didn't take into consideration is that men work more dangerous jobs. Men work longer hours. Men are in fields like engineering, science, these type of specialist fields that take a lot of schooling. It takes a special kind of mind to be a scientist, right? Or engineer, and so those jobs pay more, right? Engineering and science is what pushes society forward, right? Engineers are the ones who build this world. Of course, they're going to get paid more. Nobody's stopping women from being in those fields. Their interests just lie elsewhere. So there's all these variables. Men work longer hours. They work more dangerous jobs. They do the hard stuff in society, so they make more money. See, when you take that into consideration, there is no wage gap. Women get hired for jobs they're not even qualified for, just because we've pampered women, right? So women have been told there's a wage gap, and we're oppressed. They don't want to do the research to actually see that it's not true. This goes back to what I said, emotions, right? You tell a woman that it triggers her emotions, she thinks she's oppressed. If you're logical, somebody says that to you, you should be logical and think, well, let me look into this. When you look at the facts, you realize, oh, wait a minute, no, it's not. It's just that men are out there dying on the job and we're not. So they're making more money because they're putting their lives on the line. That's a logical conclusion anybody would come to if we know how to use our logical mind. But like I said earlier, we've been conditioned, not me, a lot of you have been conditioned to let your emotions make decisions for you. So everybody is like an exposed nerve, and all you got to do is touch it with a little sob story. You got to put some information out there that you know is going to trigger people, and next you know there's rallies, there's marches and all this stuff. People are on the streets protesting something that's not even true. It's pathetic, it's sad, it's disgusting, and I want women to understand, you're not oppressed. You guys are spoiled, man. Women wanted to join the workforce. They're like, we want to work. It was all based on propaganda. So now women join the workforce. So men are like, come on, let's go, get in the workforce. We've adjusted things. We've tried to make it convenient for women in the workforce. And then since women, I honestly believe women are not built to endure that type of stress. Women could deal with stress, but a different type of stress than men can deal with. Men could be out there for those long hours. We can put our bodies on the line, our health on the line. We're built for that. I mean, we used to go out and hunt and get killed fighting saber-toothed tigers, right? We're built for that type of stress. Women aren't. So women are living their lives as men. They're enduring the stress they're not made to endure. Now the depression rates for women have skyrocketed. Now women are on all kinds of antidepressants, making more money for the pharmaceutical companies. And their response to that stress, instead of realizing, you know what, this was a bad idea, maybe we shouldn't be working side by side with men stressing our butts off. Maybe we should dial it back and start being more nurturing, more support, play more of a supportive role, start taking time with our kids, start putting our energy into our families, into raising good kids. Instead of doing that, they do the opposite. They're like, well, we're not happy here because men built the system to benefit them. It doesn't make any damn sense. It's like, no, men came into the world, we saw what needed to be done, we knew some of us would die along the way, and we said, screw it. We didn't make the rules, we just understand the rules and we don't complain. It takes long hours, it takes a lot of work, it takes losing sleep, it takes eating crap, it takes sacrificing time with your family to be successful in this life. We understand it and we deal with it. You wanted to join this community of men doing this type of work. You don't like it, and you don't want to admit that you were wrong. You don't want to say, okay, we made a mistake. Maybe we should just go back to supporting our husbands. And instead, you're like, it's your fault, man. You built the system, so it's your fault. Everything is men's fault. There's no accountability. So it's a sad thing, and movies, music, reality TV, commercials, everything is amplifying that message to women. It's men's fault. It's men's fault. It's men's fault. It's men's fault. If you're not happy, it's because of a man. If you're not happy in society, it's because men built the society and they built it to oppress you. Even though all the innovations, all the things that we have in this world have happened because men wanted to build a world to accommodate women and children. Look up this audiobook or a book called Think and Grow Rich. Every man who has accomplished notable things in this world, they all had one thing in common. They all had a really loving, supportive woman in their lives, right? When a good woman comes into a good man's life, that good woman will extract the best out of that man. She will turn that great man into an amazing man. And a good guy with a good woman, it's just such a beautiful combination when a good man and a good woman comes together. That good man can accomplish great things. And, it's God's design is perfect for us. Men are built to do this and women are built to do that. But, as a Christian man, I got to say it. This world is the devil's. And what the devil has done, he's gotten God's perfect design of man and woman, and he's twisted it and he's mutated it. He's turned women against men and now men against women. He's got girls thinking they're boys and boys thinking they're girls. And I'm trying to wake women up from this. I want women to understand you're not oppressed. Every single man I've known, pretty much about 95% of the men I grew up with, and I lived in California, Hawaii, Texas. I've been around. I've met a lot of men, and the 95% of the men I know, all they want is a good, supporting, cooperative woman. That's it. And when I say cooperative, it just means that you love him, follow his lead. Most men have good hearts. They're not out here to kill nobody. They're not out here to rape and do all these stupid things that society tells you, that the mainstream media tells you they're going to do. It's a lie. Now, not to say that men don't commit violent crimes. They do. Most of the violent crimes committed out here from men are on other men. Why? I don't know. I mean, I have an idea. I think, I believe masculinity has been demonized. So guys like me, I don't care. I do what I want. I say what I want. I'm an aggressive dude, and this message bounces off of me. But a lot of guys are afraid to be masculine. They don't know how to channel that aggression into something good. So they bottle it up and it comes out in ugly ways, So if we would embrace and nurture masculinity and aggressiveness, and we were to like hone it and use it for good, I think our society would be even better. But men are afraid to be aggressive, so it comes out in an ugly way. So a lot of the violent crimes from men are against other men and sometimes women, yes. But I'll tell you something else. Domestic violence and all that. Domestic violence, domestic violence from women against men is at the same rate as men against women. It's the same. Women are smacking dudes around just as much as dudes are smacking women around. The only difference is men do a lot more damage, okay? Obviously, right? But that doesn't excuse it, right? That's not an excuse. But what I will say is the majority of abuse against children and old people come from women. Look it up. In retirement homes, all these vulnerable older people, the majority of the caregivers are females. Look it up. Old people are getting the crap beat out of them. They get smacked around, neglected, starved, and it's coming from women. They're innocent. The innocent older, well, they're not innocent, but they're super vulnerable. And children. I know you guys have seen videos of these babysitters, these caretakers, abusing kids. Little 2-year-old kids. So the majority of abuse to the vulnerable in our society, which are little kids and the elderly, are coming from women. When men are violent, they're violent against other men and sometimes women. So we're both violent. We're both capable of evil. Okay, there's a lot of things wrong in our society. And I, for one, think, well, I know it's because we've lost touch with God. We're not in tune with the Creator. We need to get in touch with Him and get back in line. Men need to stop being simps. stop being emotional and start being logical and making the hard choices in life. They got to start leading and quit being led by their emotions. Women got to get back in line too. They got to stop challenging men and stop trying to be like men. Keep their chastity. Keep your femininity. Stop sleeping around. Cherish your sexuality. You know what I mean? We got to stop eating junk food, all these estrogenic foods. All these processed foods are mutating our DNA. Our kids are, kids younger and younger are are diabetic. Their gender. I mean, there were studies done on frogs and rats, right? The estrogen that's found in a lot of our foods, they put it in some of the food, in the water for the frogs and the water for the rats. And I think it was over like 3 months. The frogs, their genitalia went from male to female. The same estrogen we ingest in a lot of our foods was given to these animals, and they switched the male rats, their genitalia shrank, and they started behaving more like female rats. So in other words, the male rats were running around on the wheel, and the female rats take care of the young. So the male rats that had the estrogen in their water started acting like female rats. This is the same estrogen that we find in a lot of the foods that we give our kids, like Pop-Tarts, cereals, all these, anything with vegetable oils and all this stuff. I mean, I'm gonna make another video talking about that. But anyway, so it's just, we need to wake the hell up, stop eating junk food, and start getting in touch with the Creator. Align yourself with God. Use your men, be logical, start exercising, stop basing your life around your emotions, and make the hard choices in life. We need more leaders in our society. Enough of this simping. So, I don't know. This is what I want to say. Again, shooting from the hip. Open invitation. So, if anybody wants to talk about veganism or feminism, if you're a girl out there and you think you're oppressed, if you think you have it hard, talk to me about it. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'm not so stubborn and so hard-headed that I think I don't think my beliefs are 100% bulletproof. I could be wrong in some of them. Who knows? Now, if you're going to come and talk to me, like I said, keep your emotions in check. As soon as you start getting emotional and getting loud, what's the point? I'm not here to argue and get into some drama with anybody. I'm here to help. I want to open people's minds. I want to open females' minds. I want to open guys' minds. A lot of us are lost, and we need logical leaders in here in helping people get back on track, right? I want to bring people closer to God. Baby steps, right? If you're an atheist and you think there's no God, come talk to me. Let's talk about it. So if you're a vegan, if you're a feminist, if you're a male feminist, if you're an atheist, if you're agnostic, no matter what you are, come talk to me. I'll keep it respectful, right? Just don't disrespect me, because I don't play that. Anyways, all right. So, yeah, that's it. Open invitation. Come talk to me, okay? Aloha.